Welcome back to another episode of Exploring with Ash and Jake. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different on our channel. I'm going to be talking about, I cannot make this up, even if I tried, a legit poltergeist haunted place that I lived in, and it was a rental. If this sounds good, stay tuned. I'm also going to insert pictures of the property, and I will give you the address to the place I lived at that was haunted. Please, if you know the people, though, be respectful and do not go to this address because there are new people that own this address. Thank you. So, for about 3 years, I lived in Lorain, Ohio, and the address to this place, I actually found out because there are people currently living there. I cannot mention this address, but if you know these people in the address where I'm going to show pictures, please don't go and bother them. They own the new house. They're the new owners. This house was built in 1815, I think is what I was told. It's weird because it's a double-sided duplex. I don't know too much about having double-sided duplexes back then, but that's neither here nor there. So I moved in. I'm a very clairvoyant person, so I can pick up on energy in the room. If there was any entities or spirits around, I can kind of pick up on that. I'm just drawn to that. So when we went to go check out the place, I was talking to the lady who was showing us around. I guess you'd say the realtor. And I said, I thought you told me the place was empty. And she's like, it is empty. What do you mean? And I said, well, can you explain to me, please? So I say to the realtor, can you please explain to me why up in the window I just seen a little girl with blonde hair, in a really white, pretty, frilly dress with lace and bows, and she had a big pink bow on, and she was just staring at me. And then when I waved, everyone asked me why I waved at the window. Nobody could see her. So we go inside. Everything, seems fine. They checked the entire house. They thought that I was just delusional because it was 100-degree weather outside, and that I was having heat stroke or something from it being too hot out. So nobody saw her. Fast forward 2 weeks later, we're moved in, and all sorts of weird things started happening. I believe that somebody opened up a portal in their house through using a Ouija board or something like that, because just strange things started. So really strange things started happening. I hung a picture that I had purchased at a thrift store, and it was a man in a white shirt and black dress pants on, dress shoes, overalls, African-American man with a little hat on. And then he's dancing with a white woman, and she's got a dress on and pearls, a hat, and a pair of heels. Now, I had originally hung this picture in my living room, and I decided for whatever reason I wanted to change up everything. So I hung that picture on my wall in my kitchen, and not even 5 minutes later, the picture flew off the wall. Nobody was in the living room. Nobody was in the kitchen. I'm like, what the heck? So I put it back. It's fine. The next day I'm talking, and all of a sudden the picture flies off the wall and breaks. And I was like, okay, maybe I should have just left it in the living room. Whatever deity was there didn't mind the photo being in the living room, but they did not want that photo hung up in the kitchen. It was very, very strange. So that was one incident that sort of happened. The next day, I take out a pen. I'm sitting at the kitchen. My kids are down for a nap. I'm writing something down on a paper. My husband had just gotten home from work. And all of a sudden, I could feel the pen getting really hot in my hand. And as I'm holding it, it burned my 2 fingers. And I yelped like someone stabbed me. And my husband's like, are you okay? And I said, no, I'm just using this pen. And I felt it burn my 2 fingers, like someone had heated up this pin in my hand. And I got really scared because there was nobody there. And at that time, I couldn't sense anything. But as soon as that pin burned me, I felt this scratch down my back. So I had my husband lift up my shirt to check my back, and there was a scratch down my back. And it was really weird because he didn't sense anything in the room. I couldn't see anything, but I could sense that there was some anger. I could just sense that there was this angry energy with me. And no matter what I did to attempt to call out this deity, using a Ouija board, using candles, doing a seance, nothing ever came of it. Fast forward 2 weeks later, I find out that we are expecting our second child. did not expect this, was not planned for. And I go and I'm like, when you're at your wits' end as a parent, I was at my wits' end. My oldest, who just turned 5, would not take her nap at the time, and I think she was 3, and she wouldn't take her nap at the time, and it was just so hard. And I was like at my wits' end. I'm like, okay, it's time to take a nap. So she finally goes down, and I get frustrated, and then all of a sudden, the fire extinguisher on the top of the fridge starts floating like something out of Casper. It starts floating. I could just sense that there was this angry energy with me, and no matter what I did to attempt to call out this deity, using a Ouija board, using candles, doing a seance, nothing ever came of it. Fast forward 2 weeks later, I find out that we are expecting our second child. Did not expect this, was not planned for. And I go and I'm like, when you're at your wits' end as a parent, I was at my wits' end. My oldest, who just turned 5, would not take her nap at the time, and I think she was 3, and she wouldn't take her nap at the time, and it was just so hard. And I was like at my wits' end. I'm like, okay, it's time to take a nap. So she finally goes down, and I get frustrated, and then all of a sudden, the fire extinguisher on the top of the fridge starts floating like something out of Casper. It starts floating. The fire extinguisher launches itself off the fridge at me and falls on my foot. I literally can't move because my foot is broken. I have to call my husband, who's at work, and tell him, I need you to come home. I'm like, I broke my foot. And when I tell him that the poltergeist activity increased in the house, now he doesn't believe in any of this stuff, I said that the fire extinguisher started floating on top of the fridge, and it launched itself at me, and it fell on my foot, and my foot is broken. And I said, I know it sounds crazy, but I said there was an energy in the room, and I felt it launched the fire extinguisher at me. And from that point on, just really crazy, intense things started happening. I would hear whispers in the night, people telling me their name was Susan. I would hear a little boy, a little girl talking to me, an old lady. I started hearing a little boy talk to me, a little girl talk to me. I start seeing shadow people. So the next day I get out my PSB-11 research device, which is a spirit box that allows me to communicate with any deity or energy that might be there. And the thing was going off like crazy. The temperature was dropping in the room. It was getting really cold. And I was able to communicate with some of this energy, and I found out that we had several spirits living in our house as a result of a couple of things. So one, there was apparently a car accident in front of our street, and a dad and his 2 children died, and somehow their spirits became trapped in the rental where I resided. Another thing was a mom and her son lived in the little duplex where we live. The mom on one side, the son on the other, and he got into some trouble with some drug lords, and he owed them money. So they came and they robbed him, and they beat his dog's head in with a rock and killed his dog. And the guy tried to install all these locks on the windows, and anyway, it got bad. So this guy ended up leaving. The landlord ended up evicting him and selling the property, but it just so happened to have all this angry and sad mixture of emotions and anger attached to this house. And so I tried to go through, and I tried to call a local Catholic church in my area to bless the house with holy water, and I tried to sage it, and that just ramped up the activity to the point where I was terrified to live there. My cat and I, our heads were on a swivel going like this. We could literally see these entities. Their energy was more, vibrant at night, because I could see these shadow people. And I'm going to insert some pictures. I have pictures of these terrifying shadow people. And I also believe that there was a demon in our house, based on the fact that I would see this skeletal figure that looked like a cow's skull with horns coming out of the side of its head and razor sharp teeth. And I would see these shadow people come out of my ceiling fan. And it was absolutely terrifying to the point where it caused me to have like sleep paralysis. I wouldn't go to sleep without having many, many crosses on my bed and playing St. Michael's like prayer, because I felt unsafe in the place that we resided in because of the poltergeist activity. And I learned a very valuable lesson. Do not play with Ouija boards. They are not a toy. You will open up portals to dimensions that you never knew existed, and you will invite all kinds of bad energy